It's all about the grind. Not too soft, not too coarse.
As long as it tastes good, man, I don't care if it comes out of a,
Yeah.
as long as it tastes good, it can come out of a, something's butt. That's the thing. Well, I'll do a little intro at least, and then we'll kind of get into it. Welcome to That Worldview podcast, and an episode with my brother Daniel of Let's Talk Through Things. It's going to be super open. I really have no agenda for this talk, but Daniel and I, we've had some really good talks about life, ministry, and we're just going to talk. This podcast might not even be usable. We're just going to talk though. That's all we care about really, is just having good conversations. So we're at Daniel's house right now. We've set up his living room to have the podcast. We've got his lovely fireplace here.
Yeah, I
know.
It's too hot there.
So, but anyway, so.
Yeah, honestly, I'm feeling the vibes of just even after church evening, just relaxing, casual talk. We've already been talking for a few hours, but just, we just love to talk about the Lord, what the Lord's doing, and chit chat here and there. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I love talking to you. So
something that I've loved, camp was good.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed a bit dead for the first day and a half, but camp picked up for sure. And I've really been thinking of the younger generation too, and just as cultural differences. We've talked a lot about this, and I think it's just God's brought a lot to my mind about culture.
Yeah.
And I guess something that I've been mulling over, and we've already talked about a little bit, was the difference between just how the different generations work a little bit. And something I'm finding to be a very distinct thing is I find that the old generation has an appeal to authority more, and the younger generation, or at least our generation, really has more of the appeal to purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
And I found that, me included, I would say me and you included, we don't really care who someone is. We care if they're real. And a lot of that even has to do with their past faults and stuff too. Like, I don't care. Even some of my mentors, if they tell me something and I can't sense that it's real or I don't understand it,
right,
quite frankly, I'm not going to follow it. Because I want what's real, and I've seen that very distinct change in us and in our generation. And that's something that I want to hone in on a little bit. And I think that comes back to discipleship and mentorship, which
Definitely.
We've been talking a lot about. I've really enjoyed our conversations about mentorship, and actually my last podcast, or the podcast I just did, which isn't released yet, we talked about how to find a mentor and all that. And I think it seems to be the discussion of the day for us and people in my circle. Mentors, how to find a mentor, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What are things, I guess, what's been helpful for you when it comes to finding a mentor? What do you, I guess, things that have helped? We'll hit it a little bit more.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Well, because I've kind of been on that journey myself in some aspects. Like, I don't know, sometimes you feel lonely, and you feel like you need somebody there to push you, because there are times in your life where you feel like, and it's not a spiritual pat on your back, and you can't see it as such, but there are times where you feel like you're the one that people are looking to in some aspects, and you're in a small crowd. Like right now, we're in a pretty small church.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to feel, and just the spot the Lord has me, it's just like, you find yourself doing a lot of ministry, you find yourself doing just a lot of talking and stuff like that. And then you kind of sit here and like, well, where's the guy that I run to, besides you and the Lord, which obviously you automatically run to him, but there is something to be said about somebody mentoring you and actually somebody talking to you face to face. And I think there are different phases in life where certain people will be your mentor. And, there could be, not saying that person will go away in friendship and, fellowship. Of course, that, mentor will stay with you. But I think there are certain seasons in your life where the Lord may place a different mentor that has a suit that can actually help you in this journey.
Right.
So
well, it's kind of like the thing that they specialize in is what you need mentorship in.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, like for me, I've had a mentor that really helped me go from a very religious outlook of spirituality to actually real walking with Lord, real spirituality. What's that really like? And I had a mentor, which is Pastor Bickish, to help me with that. And now I feel like I'm kind of moving on, and I need a mentor in a different area of my life, and that area really is how to effectively push to missions, how to effectively reach people in our area. Because I'll be honest with you, there's a long time where it's been at least a personal struggle for me going from such a religious aspect. Obviously I'm talking to the choir here, but going from
Right.
a religious aspect, and you're so, it's shoved down your throat. We gotta canvas, we gotta get out, we gotta, witness to all these people, we gotta do this, and it's just a lot, And so you kind of, I for sure probably pendulum swung one way, but then, the Lord does command us to reach out, and the Bible does say that we are not, Paul says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. And I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. And there are times where indeed I can be, for sure, because we all have a flesh. But I don't know. So I think I've been needing a mentor in there to help me. Like, what is a real spiritual outlook on this? What does the Bible say? And
that's kind of naturally come about
yeah.
with you, at least with did you say his name already? I don't want to reveal people, I guess, or if you don't want to, but
Who, pastor?
well, you pastor, but the new guy that you're
Oh
talking
yeah,
to.
yeah. I'm
okay,
sure it's fine. Yeah. So it's funny because this new.
I just don't want to out names, and you're like, oh, I didn't want to.
No. So it's funny because it's actually his brother.
Yeah,
Which is funny.
I just didn't want to say it because I didn't know if you had already said it. I was I'll let him say it.
Which he probably doesn't even know that I look at that. But I've been praying for, Lord, I need some fellowship. I need some encouragement in this area. I need a mentor in this area. And it's funny because I talk to him, and I'm not around him a lot, but I do call him occasionally, and I do see him because he's part of our church, Mark,
right,
which is Pastor Biggish's brother, his younger brother. And he's had this huge outlook on missions, reaching, not just like foreign missions, but at
local
home,
missions,
your Jerusalem,
right.
Reaching your Jerusalem, your Samaria, your Judea. So he's been a huge help to me in that. And there's some stuff in the works right now that I feel like the Lord has put on my plate that I'm really excited about when it comes to evangelizing our area. So there's like a long-term plan for next year in April, and then there's a short-term plan of, well, what can I do now that's effective, with our church, that we don't have to plan 6 months in advance. We could do this like next Saturday if we wanted to.
Right.
So kind of both of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's good. I definitely agree. I have different mentors for.
Actually, we're missing something. Hold on.
You want to go get something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, why not?
I've got mine on my phone. So where is my phone anyway? I know. Can you get my? Actually, just hand me my phone.
Yeah. For a Bible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Do you know about technocracy?
Do you know about technocracy? No, I agree that there's a. I was talking about mentors. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but I felt like during camp, I was talking to someone about discipleship, right? And I think one of the things we've lacked the most in the last 2 generations probably has been discipleship.
Right.
And you've heard me say this, I said it earlier today, is that the student studies information, the disciple studies the master, right? When you look at Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. He told Timothy, teach thou faithful men that will be able to teach others also.
Yeah.
So discipleship isn't an examining of information, and it's an examining and following of one's life.
Right.
And the only way someone's going to do that is if they know about your life and you're open about your life. And I think it's funny. I'm gonna out my sister here, Jessica. If you watch this, Sissika is what we called her. So Jessica, she started to post a lot more on social media about her raising her kids and stuff, and I've absolutely loved it. I've been following her posts. Cool. I even texted her, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, saying, "I'm so proud of you. You're the best mama ever." Because she really, for her age, like I know a couple older women that are great moms, but I tell you what, I have never met a woman as young as my sister who does such an amazing job at raising kids. She just does an amazing job, and she's kind of come to the point where she feels like God wants her to show that to the world, and just Not because she thinks I'm all that in a bag of chips, but she's like, listen, my God's shown me stuff, and I'd like to help other mothers raise their kids,
Yeah.
and use godly principles. And I applaud her for that. And it was really crazy because you were telling me that you were having a conversation with Jessica about this. And while you were telling me, God had been talking to me last week about that exact same thing, where there's things God's teaching me a lot right now when it comes to diligence, when it comes to just walking with him more intimately, when it comes to things that I think about, where, you know, I don't want people to see my life because I'm anything, but they need to see, I think people need to see the journey.
Right. Yeah.
Because when you can see, I do think that I have a genuine walk with the Lord, and I do have a passion to follow God, as you do, as my sister Jessica does, as my other brother Darren does, right? Or our other brother Darren. My other brother.
Wait, you have another brother named that?
Yeah, right. From another mother. But that's something that I'm not wanting people to just see perfection. I just want them to see what God's teaching and how I'm enacting those principles, because I wish someone would have been around to show me that. Right.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Brother Save about that, and he was telling me all the things that God had shown him about being diligent, which a lot of things God's been showing me. And I'll just kind of, for my audience a little bit, I'll just kind of hit one quick subject. So anyone who knows me knows I hate running with a passion, right? And if you see me in person, it looks like I hate running. But like, I have this Nike app, and on it says, my bio says, I hate running. And then I started a challenge called I Don't Wanna.
I don't wanna.
And but God's really been dealing with me about, listen, like, you need to be more diligent in your life with your physical, with your health. And this isn't to get nuts. Like, I'm not nuts at all. Like, I try to stay on like a carnivore diet loosely. It helps me. I like it. And so far I've been running. I think this week I've run, I don't know, 9 miles or something. And I have like this app where I run with friends, and we kind of like, it's a game, you know, we run.
Oh yeah.
And, but something I've learned is I actually don't hate running as much as I thought I did. I think there's all these mind games that we've convinced ourselves we don't like a lot of things. And still, running's a bit painful, but I actually like look forward to doing my evening runs a lot of times. And there's just things God's showing me within the context of being diligent, within what I'm learning, that I think would be helpful for people to know.
Right.
Not because I'm not going to fail, but because people can actually see, oh, so that's how he did it. And maybe I don't want to do it that way. Maybe I should do it this way. Like, I think that's actually part of leading people.
Right.
Because if you're going to mentor someone, they're going to see your flaws just as much as they're going to see your successes. Being a mentor isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And I think
Actually, a bad mentor would be trying to portray perfection,
that's actually true.
because it's very discouraging for people, one, and they're lying to themselves.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, if you're trying to and only trying to exude perfection, then it doesn't actually show the other person the struggle of living life and understanding. Because if you're only showing perfection, it means you're hiding something.
Yeah.
And I don't think mentors, like, obviously you don't want to, open your whole life to them. Like, here, look at every nook and cranny of my life. But they need to understand that you are a human living and understanding God at the same capacity that they are in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. But he also says, you've seen my faith.
Right.
Like, Paul's like, I'm an open book. You've seen what I've been doing. You know my faith. You know my calling. You know my backstory, essentially. He's like, and you can tell in my walk with the Lord, by God's grace, I am what I am. He's like, you follow me as I follow Christ. And that's really true discipleship. See, the thing that I think is one of the reasons why discipleship has failed so badly is because they're not real. And so if you're not real, you can't disciple somebody, because then they see who you really are and realize this dude does not have it right.
Well, I think the other thing too is people don't disciple because they know they can't be real.
Right.
Or they
exactly.
won't be real, right? Because if you've made up your mind, listen, I'm not going to expose my, some of my weaknesses and, all that. I just want to stay, me, mine.
Yeah.
Really what you've done is I just can't be real. I don't want to be exposed in that way. And I actually think it's a huge way you actually become, I've found that your walk with God becomes a little bit more honest and raw with God, because you're like, God, I need you for multiple reasons now.
Yeah.
One, because I need you specifically, but God, I have people following me, people that see my life, people that live with me, or people that travel with me, and I'm opening up to them. I actually like what Brother Matt Stallman said. I was with Brother Matt Stallman once, and he said, I've been mentoring some guys, and he said, when you have guys close to you and you share all your Netflix accounts and your Prime accounts and your Amazon accounts,
Yeah.
he's like, you'll second guess what you're willing to watch because you're trying to be a good example, and sometimes they may ask questions like, hey, why did you watch that or whatever? And it's like, well, explain it to them, right?
Yeah.
If you think you're wrong or you think you're right, either apologize or explain,
Yeah.
and no one wants to give up their Netflix passwords. They're like, nah, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's right. Even if, like I would say, I think some people, they live a double life. Mm-hmm. A lot.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that you and I have actually been working through. And that's, there's things that we do in our private life that we wouldn't necessarily show in our public life. Mm-hmm. But I don't think, I can speak for myself for sure on this one. It's not that I don't show it in my public life, not because I'm trying to hide something, but because I'm afraid that I don't want to become a stumbling block for people who don't understand.
Yeah, there's room for that for sure.
Right, because for an example, there may be things that I watch that I don't necessarily advertise that I watch, right? But it's not because I'm ashamed that I watched it. It's I just don't, if people don't have the same standard, I don't want to offend them, right? Yeah. But I think if there's something that if you're watching something that you literally don't want anyone to know you're watching because of bad reasons, you probably shouldn't be watching it, but there is that line of, but I think everyone lives kind of these dual lives in a sense.
Sure, yeah.
And some people's dual lives are worse than others. Like, for an example, you could be, I'm just using this as an example, you could be like gun-ho, I'm all that in a bag of chips, very high standard, very, Baptist, religious, and like, you shouldn't have a TV in your house. I've actually heard multiple of these stories where guys preach against TVs and they go home and they're watching something in the TV in their room after they just got done Sunday morning preaching how evil TVs were. And it's like, okay,
it's not real.
Like, that's a double standard you shouldn't have. And a guy like that will not be able to disciple because he's living that double standard. Right. And he's preaching one thing to be wrong while not actually thinking it's wrong because he does it on another end.
That's why they ship him off to Bible college. Well, I do have somewhat of a beef with Bible college. But I also don't. Because, you go to learn. I mean, we both have a BA. Early, you have a BA.
I started. I didn't finish. I was a rebel.
Rebel. But I really believe that was one of the biggest disconnects, is because you went from a church. You can't, again, there are settings for Bible college, granted, yes, but ultimately, I really think it did a detriment. It became this industrial cookie cutter process of Christianity to build this kingdom, with knowledge. Mm-hmm. Knowledge puffeth up.
Well, Bible colleges builds, in my opinion, predominantly. Now, I think there's actually discipleship happening in Bible colleges, but I think it's not because they were trying. It's because it just happened. Yeah. Because a teacher really liked a student and took him under his wing and taught him. Right. But most of the time, the majority, 99% of the time, you're taught religious knowledge, but you're not actually shown faith. Yeah. And you're a faith isn't transmitted to you. It's information that's been transmitted. And
Anyway. So that again, like, can somebody know the Lord and actually grow in the Lord in Bible college? 100% yes. I mean,
we're not saying
that's not the question. I'm saying the question of Bible college in and of itself and where it stands with the kingdom of God. I really believe there is very little.
There's very little profit for the amount of effort that's put into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I totally agree.
So actually, I have a quote I absolutely love. Okay, so when it comes to discipleship, I don't know if you read this book, but Michael Wells, right? The Lord used him greatly in my life building this house. Like, that was huge. When it comes to our generation, I think in practicality and realness, it was huge. But
Yeah, God used Michael Wells for me for a while too, a couple years ago. Yeah.
because it's just real. It's like raw. It's real. And he has a book called The Heavenly Disciple, and I think it's the only book he wrote. I could be wrong,
Huh.
but it's a decent thickness. But oh my goodness, it's so good. Like it's so real. And one of the quotes I actually wrote down in my Bible because
Read
it
it.
pertains
Yeah.
to discipleship, and it hit me in the feels when I read it. I was like, that's good.
Did you, before you read it, did you ever do it was called the emotional spiritual test?
I think I did.
It was like 10 questions and you're
Yeah.
supposed to answer them emotionally.
I did, but I didn't keep the paper. I don't think.
Yeah. I didn't keep the paper either, but I did it.
It was pretty
And
good.
it was good. It kind of,
You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, I didn't know that was in me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the quote is, so he's talking about earthly disciples, so religious disciples. So what we would count as like, most discipleship, if you will, like people sitting up at the Bible college or just the Baptist, or not even just Baptist, but in general, disciples, right? It says disciples are equipped only to see the steps I wrote something off here. Disciples are equipped only to see the steps they need to take to secure God, but they remain ignorant of God's work to secure them. They are continually taught how to change, yet remain untutored regarding the secret of expanding his life they already possess. So essentially, it's like they're teaching these disciples the steps to secure and attain God, yet they still don't secure and obtain God because it's a formula. If you do this, and this, you'll get this.
Well, I think learning God is by experience, not by knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, knowledge is part of experience, but it is not the essence of it.
Right.
And I think that's why God tells us to walk with him.
Right.
That's why we have to die to ourselves daily. It's a continual walk of experience. Like there are things that I understand now about God and what God's taught me that I could not have understood in the past
Right.
because my walk with God was young. I mean, technically still is, but and I think that's why older men who truly walk with God are irreplaceable.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart aches for older men right now that can't travel. The two guys that come to mind, one more than another, but the two guys that come to mind is Brother Chuck Colson.
Yeah.
Like, man, I wish I could just keep him with me wherever I went and just travel with him, just let him and have him preach. But, he's elderly, his wife's elderly, he's taking care of his wife.
Yeah.
Another guy that he's a little rough around the edges, but I like him is, was it John Jones?
Alan Jones.
Alan Jones. I want to say John Jones. Alan Jones. He was great too.
He's great.
He's rough around the edges, but he's great.
Yeah, he's definitely that.
Yeah. But
Oh, man,
Chuck
that's
Colson, I'm telling you what, he is like, you just can't replace that. You can't replace that piercing of your soul, and he understands you. You can't replace that keen understanding of where you're at in life and how God will move. You can't replace it. I'd say Brother Sabe is another one of those.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, like I was talking to Jana.
Oh yeah.
And she joined me on a run, so we were doing this run, and she was telling me, we started walking, and she told me how she's told something to Brother Sabe, and Brother Sabe proceeded to pretty much explain her whole life of what she's learning back to her for like an hour and a half, and she was like shocked. She was like, how did you know everything that I'm dealing with? And you answered my questions before I could even ask them. Like, you don't get that without understanding the Spirit and walking with God over time.
Yeah.
And that's why I think older men and older women are so valuable. And I hate to lose them. I hate that they have to stop preaching because they're old, or they got to take care of people. It just gets to me. But that's life. Yeah. But that means that we have to walk with God, because as we grow with God and as we submit to God, we're going to get old one day, if the world doesn't blow apart first. And
well, this American culture has totally lost what it means to look to elders for advice. We've totally shoved out this whole idea of looking to people who are more experienced, looking to people who have gone through life who are older age. I mean, it's all over the Bible that you have older people. The glory of a young man is his strength, and the glory of an old man is his hoary head. But it's essentially his wisdom. His gray hair is known for wisdom as well. But we've in America, we've totally, like anywhere else in the world, really, there's always that system of you listen to the elders, you listen to them, you respect them because they have wisdom. Now, whether they're,
Well, a lot of times it's because they actually have meaning and wisdom built in.
right.
And I've found that, sadly, what I've found in America, and actually I want to get into this
There's
with
a
you.
lot of old babies.
There's a lot of old babies.
It's true, though.
I
And
couldn't
think
have said it better
I think
myself.
that's why the cultures really rejected that aspect, because they're not real. And we look at them and they're like, just because you're older doesn't mean you're mature.
Right. And I think
No.
they spout, a lot of older people spout stuff,
Yeah.
but it's not actual wisdom, it's rhetoric.
Yeah.
And something that actually Dad and I were talking yesterday, and because Dad asked Darren and I, so this is just a good testament to us wanting to walk with God and stuff. But Dad told me, he said, I've got guys coming up to me saying, like, how did you raise your kids? How did they turn out so good? Which we all know we've had our problems, but like we genuinely do want to follow God, and I think we are genuinely following God.
That's it right there.
Exactly. And Dad kind of asked Darren and I, like, how do I answer them?
Yeah.
Like, how do I tell them it's not me? And Dad said, what Dad asked was, what did I do that made you guys, that helped you guys, right? And one, I think it's just pure the grace of God, one, because no parent's perfect.
Yeah.
My dad is definitely not the exception, right? But something that I found my dad, and Dad, he used this analogy I really liked. Because it seems to be a phenomenon amongst like Christian parents. They're like, I took my kids to church. I did this. We grew up in church. I told them to love God, blah, blah, blah. But my kids turned out to be,
Yeah.
following the devil, right? And they're like shocked of why this is the case. And I really believe that. But then, you'll have some kid raised in a horrible home. Got Brother Mears, right? He was raised in not a great home at all. Stepdad's in and out,
Right.
getting beat on, all this other stuff. But it's like he turned out to love God. How did that work?
Yeah.
Right? And something that I've come to the conclusion about with this is the worldly parent is not pretending to be somebody spiritual.
Right.
The worldly parent is just like, I'm raising my kid the best I can, and I'm living life, right? They're not proclaiming any moral standard that they are attaining to.
Right.
And so the kid inherently knows, listen, my mom's just flying by the seat of her skirt and her pants. My dad's flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
And like, they're not trying to be anyone special. They're just doing their thing. And I've heard unsaved people talk about their parents who were a lot of times not great parents, but they're like, I love my old man. He's a dirtbag, but I love him.
Yeah, they still instilled.
There's
morals,
respect
if you will.
there,
There's
right?
respect,
And there's still that, but I think it's because they didn't pretend to be something spiritual.
Right.
And the thing you're finding in Christian homes that are unspiritual is you have a parent that says that ascribes to a lot of moral practices. Right. I don't do this. I don't do that. I go to church. I take my kids to church. We dress this way. We do that. Right.
Right.
But then at home they can be tyrants, or they're not following God, or they discipline their children out of frustration and not actual correct parenting. Right. And then what you get is now the kids, now what they see is my dad is a hypocrite. My mom is a hypocrite because they say this and they act this way at church, but they are a totally different person at home.
Right. So it's almost a worse scenario.
It's a worse scenario because at least the unsaved parent isn't claiming to be something and then being something else.
Yeah.
The saved parent or the Christian parent is claiming to be something and then being something else.
Yeah.
And I think, like, who is the devil? He's the father of lies.
Right.
Hypocrisy, by definition, is a continual lie, continually lived.
Yeah.
I don't see anything closer, and that may sound harsh, but there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than prescribing to be a Christian something, not having the power of God, and being a backslidden something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's why kids are running from God. Now, that's not an excuse for the Christian kid to say, well, my parents didn't hold up their end of the bargain. But anyway,
let
me get back to the analogy. My dad used this analogy of a typewriter. And this is where Paul says, I die daily. It's the same concept. Is the parent trying to raise that kid, right? Trying to raise the kids, typing, putting information, moving,
Yeah.
meditates on God. And as they meditate on God, God resets them, ding, right here, the typewriter, and then starts typing away. You make successes, you make mistakes, repent or reevaluate, right? And something that our dad has done, it has been slow. My dad hasn't reset maybe as often as he should.
Right.
And he'll acknowledge that.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. But my dad has been willing to have his mind changed, not because he's changing from something that's right, but because he's reevaluating, understanding something that's true that he didn't see before.
Right.
And he's willing to reset. And I think what really helped us grow up to want to serve God and want God is we're like, hey, yeah, my dad made mistakes. Yeah, my mom made mistakes. But I can see my dad was willing to grow and he's willing to change. And my dad wasn't a hypocrite, because when he saw he was wrong and when he messed up, he was willing to go back to God, reevaluate, and understand. And there have been times, very even recently, where us boys will say something that my dad has not thought of before. And we'll try to say it clearly and concisely, and dad will go, I never thought about it that way, but you're right, right? That is that. But parents that go, well, I'm just this way, and that's how I'm going to deal with, dude, get a life, right? You're going to ruin your kids if you stay that way.
Right.
Anyway, your turn to talk. I talk.
No, I'm just thinking about. I was just thinking about kind of where you started with the parents. Like, what is dad? Dad was asking, what did I do right? And like, what really made a difference? Like, when somebody comes and say, what did you do? How did you raise your kids to be this way? How did you do this? And like you said, it's really the grace of God. And that's really the key, is that as a parent, I believe the best thing you can do as a parent, is, I'm blanking where it's found, but it says that fathers are to raise their children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. It's instilling God in their life. And you do it, the best way you can do that is by living it in your own life. And that's what makes a difference in your kid's life. Because like you said, if there's hypocrisy, you can forget it, That's where you get a lot of rebellion. Because they're like, well, what makes you any better than me?
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do for your kids, and I think to that question that, people ask our dad, what did you do? It's not so much what he did necessarily as what he instilled in us. And that is, he did push us to Christ. And even as kids, we look up to our parents. We look up to our fathers and our mothers, and we watch them. Like, kids are extremely observant, and they watch you.
We found
and
that
they
out
literally
tonight.
calculate. They calculate every single move that you make and why, and they mull it over. Like, so the best way you can teach your kid about God, about Christ, about walking in faith, about loving others, is that you have that instilled in your own life. And actually, I was having a talk with Pastor Buchert about his message, that we were like, what, and
we were all very skeptical
right,
of.
yeah. But the Lord kind of shared this thought with me. So, in 1 Timothy, where he's talking about a bishop, the office of a bishop, and he has kind of a list of like, this is what we're looking for. And one of them is that he rules his house well and that his kids are not unruly, right? And it kind of came in a roundabout way, but let me try to explain this thought to you.
Yeah.
Because it all connects. So when he says, you look at his home, how's his home life? Look at his kids. So when you really, as a husband, have a heart for Christ, yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but your goal, you're set as a flint, right? Your goal is Christ. You're loving your family with Christ's love, not your love, with Christ's love. You're serving your family with humility and with a servant's heart, and you're just pushing for Christ. You are going to win your family's hearts, your wife's hearts, your kids' hearts. They're going to want to follow you. They're going to want to listen to you. And I'm not saying that's true for every single case, because we all have free will. We all have a choice, even kids when they grow up. And they will make their choice. But when you're ruling your house well, you will have the hearts of your kids, and you will have a house that is ruly. So it's like this circle of like, if you're not ruling your house well, it ultimately comes to you. Father, how are you ruling your house? If your kids are unruly, if your kids are rebellious, if your kids are all over the place, then you yourself don't know what it means to live the Christ life.
And then how can you lead a church?
How, yeah, and then he goes and says,
right.
because if he can't rule his own house, how is he supposed to rule the house of God?
Right.
So, example, look at Eli and his sons.
Right.
Eli, clearly, and in the verse the scripture talks about, he was also partaking in those sins. He was partaking in the meat, and he was cooking in unlawful ways. He was taking more than he should with his sons, but his sons took it even more so. So you could see
they were
that,
sleeping with women in the temple,
right, in the
and
temple,
doing
yeah,
all
they were
kinds
doing
of stuff, yeah,
unspeakable things, and I'm really honestly surprised that God let it go for that long. I'm
right.
like, you know, because like wrong thought, bang, you're dead. If you walk in that holies of holies without, you know, you are out. That's why they had bells on their skirts to pull them out, you know. So like, so clearly that's a sign that he himself wasn't walking right. Therefore, his children took that even further. So,
And he left them to their own devices, you know. And,
right, yeah.
yeah.
And ultimately, he was judged for that.
Right.
But going back to that, Timothy, you know, that is a litmus test. You know, how do you know that a man or a woman or family is walking with Christ as their hearts are for the Lord? Look at their family life, because that's what's real.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at their family life and there's a lot of discrepancies, things don't make sense, you know, they say one thing and do another, you can be sure that there's something wacky going on. And it might not be like a horrible sin, but there's something not right, you know?
I think part of it too is see how they react to criticism.
Yeah.
Because I found that parents and people that aren't willing, people that are hypocritical, they can't handle criticism. They always have to justify themselves.
Right.
But a lot of times, people that are walking with God, they'll own up to their faults. They'll even take things that aren't their fault.
Right.
They'll even like, yeah, I could have done better there. You know, that was my bad, when it actually wasn't their bad. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll like, put it on me, man. I'll do better, right? I'll do what I can to continue to follow God and do right. They're not afraid of owning up to stuff or criticism, right?
Yeah.
But I tell you what, those hypocrites, man, they run from that.
Oh yeah.
They run from it. They're like, they'll make excuses, they'll spread stuff. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
And kids see that, you know?
Right through it. Yeah.
And something I told when I was talking with Dad and Darren about this was, I said, Dad, you know, I'm losing it. What time is it? It's not that late.
He's tired. You ended with Dad, you're losing it. I think
I'm
we're
losing
losing it.
No, I do think that, okay, let's shift a little bit.
Yeah.
God, I actually got bitter at Dad. I've told you this story.
Right.
A little bit when I was probably like 4 years ago. And it was because I was hearing all this new information and I just like,
Oh, that
I was
recent,
like-
huh? I didn't know that.
I was like,
I thought you were referring back to like frontside times.
oh no, no, not front set. That was way more than 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That's
Yeah.
why I was like, oh, 3-4 years ago. That's recent.
No, yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, it was during our roundtable discussions in our missions conference in Wenatchee.
Oh.
And I was learning so much new stuff, I know, about missions. And I remember thinking, like, I started getting a little bit angry, like, why didn't my dad teach me this? Why doesn't he,
Yeah.
why didn't I know this? And then Brother Save preached a message. No clue what I was thinking about, right? But this bitterness was slowly growing in me for my parents because I was like, why didn't I know this sooner?
Yeah.
And he said, you know, your parents fought battles so that you don't have to, so that you won't have to face, so that you can go on to fight other battles.
That's good.
And you know, our dad is not perfect, but he has fought battles that we don't even have to worry about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My dad came from our dad. I keep saying our dad came from a, you know, a unsaved background.
Right.
Came from a lot of you know, baggage and
Latchkey
trauma
kid
and latchkey. Yeah. Right. The hippie movements
Yeah.
and all that other stuff. We don't have to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
Right. And there's things that I would say, and I think Dad would agree with me. There's things that we perceive and comprehend that he still struggles with, but we see it and comprehend
Yeah,
it.
100%.
And
Yep.
that has nothing to do with he's less than us. Not at all.
Right.
But because of his diligence to raise us around God and to give us a jump start in life, to value the
Yeah.
Lord and to value his word, we have been given a great treasure in being able to not have to worry about those battles, but we can go on in a very large way
Yeah.
to fight more perceptive battles, to be able to help more people, to gain help ourselves, to learn how to lean more keenly on the Lord.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened unless our dad had fought those battles, right? And that really, like, I had to go repent of my bitterness. And God was like, listen, your parents might not be everything you think they ought to be, but they fought battles that thankfully you won't have to face. And it also brings it also brings a great amount of responsibility, because God says, I'm going to expect things from you because you've been given this great
Yeah.
privilege of being raised in a home that actually loves you, a home that pushes you towards God.
Right.
Although imperfectly, you still have a heritage. And if you waste it, that's more of a condemnation on you than your dad would have maybe ever had.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
And that's something that I really took to heart.
No, it's true. It's like your parents are giving you a leg up spiritually and physically. And, if you get better at them, it's really like you're looking down on them, mad that they're mad that they're not better when they're over here like, I'm trying to give you a leg up here. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you go through a phase where you just start, you start to look at your parents like, why did you do that? Why didn't you do this? And and there comes a point where you just like, you just need to have, like, your parents, being a parent now, I cannot believe Mom dealt with 8 kids.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, like, you literally are like surviving at that point. Like, you're surviving. Like, yeah. Like, we have one in diapers right now, one kind of in diapers. She's, potty trained, but she's still sleeping with diapers. But like, can you imagine having 4 kids in diapers at the same time, back to back? And then
Jessica knows.
Yeah, Jessica knows.
Jessica knows.
But having another 4, I'm just like, so like,
Yeah.
like when it comes to, and I mean, she homeschooled all of us. And, even though that was rough, but like, we still came out with a good education, and
I like to think we all can think decently.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but like, I don't know. So you really need to give grace to your parents, and you really understand more when you're a parent. You're like,
Yeah, for sure.
And then you look back at your life, you're like, whoa, they sacrificed a ton for me.
Yeah.
And so like, you definitely get a lot more grace for them. And there still might be some things like, yeah, I still really felt like you dropped the ball on this. Granted, yeah, totally. And, we can try and work those out, but sometimes I realize there are some things that's just who they are. There are some things where it's like, that's just who they are. And they might not even see where you're coming from. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it, and sometimes you just got to like, okay, that's cool. Move on. Just move on.
Yeah.
You can get stuck in that phase for a very long time,
Well, it is true. If you're looking for something to get stuck in, you will have the swamp all to yourself. Like,
It's true. Actually, I was talking to one of our brothers about that, younger brothers.
yeah.
And, he's going through a phase right now where he's experiencing life, if you will. He's not rejected God, obviously, but like, he's taking a bit more freedoms, and we're like, okay, dude, like, you're really pendulum swinging here. Like, way too much over here. And you're just, your focus is off. It's that point. Like, hey, dude, your focus is off. And one of the things I was talking to him about was like, look, it's okay to have questions. Like, good, you're supposed to question. I mean, the Lord literally says, come, let us reason together. But when he says, come, let us reason together, he's not saying ask a bunch of questions and that's it and hold those against me. He's saying, let's reason. So there is an aspect to where you can ask questions. Yes, you can look at your life and be like, why did we do this? And why did we do that? And Lord, why am I doing this? It's good to ask questions. But when you start harboring these questions as an excuse to not seek the Lord and be like, well, until all these questions are answered and until all the hypocrisy's gone, then no, obviously now you're the hypocrite and you're being exactly what you're against. So, if you have questions, that's good. Seek them out. And what does the Bible say about them? What does the Lord say about them? Seek the Lord with these questions. Don't just leave it at, well, I have issues with this, like the Baptist church, and I have issues with this, therefore that's why I think they're hypocrites, and I'm just going to live my life. Well, okay, that may be true, but again, you're using it as an excuse to not seek the Lord, to not make what's right, what was wrong, right? So, yeah, I don't even know how I got on that, but
No,
we were talking about asking questions.
yeah, and I think there's many families that do have kids who are just, and we both know if you're not growing, you're dying, and
Yeah, for some
there's,
reason, people think that there's a middle ground there.
yeah,
There
there's
is
no middle ground. There isn't. If
Yeah,
you're
I'm on
not,
pause. No, you're actually sliding backwards.
You're sliding
backsliding.
backwards.
That's what you're doing.
and the crazy part, I was thinking about this the other day. I have found it to be very true in my life, but when I either yield to, if I backslide, and obviously in my Christian life, I've had times of backsliding. If you yield to sin, I have found that actually the more you yield to sin and the more you backslide, the less culpable you think you are. It is so weird. It's like the more you give into stuff and you just live the way you want to live, and God is not in all your thoughts. God isn't.
Yeah.
God's over here somewhere where you can maybe touch him with your fingertips, but like God's not near you, right?
Right.
And I found that this place of like, I'm just doing my thing, and I kind of want to see God in my periphery, but I don't want him in my view, right?
Right.
And you're kind of comfortable with that. I have found that you get this sense of, I'm not doing too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oh man, look how cool life is. And oh, like I get to do this, and I'm going to go hang out here, and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And the farther down the road of degradation you go, it's like you actually think for somehow you're doing good, or you're almost even doing better. You're like, man, I'm actually chilling out. I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you get nailed by sin. Mm-hmm. Something hits you hard, or a relationship falls apart, or something just rocks your world, man. And then you're like, Jesus, where are you? I need to do a quick prayer real quick. And then you're like using him as a genie, and then you go deeper down that hole.
That he's not,
right. And then you're mad at him that he's not there.
Yeah.
And by this time you're so entrenched in sin, and you're so blind to your own selfishness and stupidity. And everyone around you that's spiritual can see it as clear as crystal, man. Mm-hmm. You're not hiding jack diddly, right? But you think you're over here like you're the victim.
Yeah.
But everyone can see where you went wrong. Everyone that's spiritual can see, well, you started forsaking the Lord back here, and you've been down this trail for a good couple of years now, and none of us are surprised that you're here.
Yeah.
Like, the only one surprised is the one that was dumb, and the one that was blind, and the one that was numb to sin. And that's you, Mm-hmm. And I found that to be true, man. And so I've even caught myself sometimes where like I won't take God as seriously, or I'm kind of like, and it's amazing how fast you can do it. Like the people around you sometimes don't necessarily perceive it, but there have been times in my life where I could go like 2 weeks where I'm kind of infatuated with something, whether it's like a hobby or something dumb or cool thing or whatever. And I'll just find myself just drifting a little bit, right? Yeah. And I don't look any less spiritual necessarly, right?
Like, but people, you know that you're like...
I know, yeah. And
the Lord's like, hey, where have you been? And you're like... Oh.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like... Oh, you know what I'm saying? And then what happens, I've caught myself going, like, I feel... Like, I don't feel like I'm bad, right? Like, I know that sounds weird. We are, in Christ, we are... positionally found to be righteous.
You start to justify yourself.
Right. But we start to, when you start yielding to some things that aren't in God's plan, and you just start kind of ignoring God, and you start grabbing some weights, what I found is you actually become, that need of, oh, help me, God, goes away. Mm-hmm. So you go, like I have found, the closer I get to God, the more I'm like, God, I need you.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I need to be close to you. God, help me. Like I hear a message half the time when I hear a spirit-filled man preaching, half the time I'm going, God, help me. God, help me, right? Because like, I see like God's teaching me, and it's like God's like, writing on my heart in a sense, and he's guiding me. And all I can say during that time is all I see is like my failures. I'm like, God, help me, please. I need you. Like, I need to be more in tune with you. But when you're not there, you go from God, help me to, oh, things are going pretty good. And then you go to,
I'm doing
hey,
good.
I'm doing pretty good. Like, I'm having fun, like,
Yeah.
and then you go, hey, like, I'm hanging out with this new guy or this new gal or whatever. You're like, oh, things aren't bad. Like, I'm hot stuff,
Yeah,
and that's actually the road you go down, and you actually you become more independent, and God isn't all your thoughts anymore.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it's only a matter of time before you get nailed by sin or something else, and you're like in panic mode, and you're now looking for God all of a sudden, right? And God's like, you left me back, 6 months, 2, 3 years ago, 4, 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you left me back there, pal. And then, but we're so now steeped in it that we have this victim mentality of, well,
Yeah.
why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, you're so right. And God is obviously actually, it's funny. I was reading a book to Lillian by Max Lucado. Lucado. Can't remember. But it was about Wemmicks. You know his Wemmick books?
No.
Okay. Well, it's called something with
I
green
don't,
nose.
I don't read kids' books, so.
Well, it's like they're actually really good because they're very simple and they explain spiritual truths actually pretty profoundly. Like
maybe I should get a couple.
Chuck Colson reads them in some of his sermons.
Oh, is that like the Velveteen Rabbit?
It's along those lines.
Oh, okay.
But they're about Wemmicks and they're these like wood carvings.
I have seen that book. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I just didn't recognize the title.
Yeah, like there's one like Spots and Stars. Or whatever.
Spots and Stars. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one about something about the green nose. Essentially, the story about the green nose, where everybody gets a green nose painted on their nose. Duh. But like, so you have the youngest women's Ponchinello, I think is the name of it, and then another one, I can't remember, a girl Celia or something like that. But the story of this story about the Wemmicks is that it's like trying to fit into the crowd. And right now, all the Wemmicks, there's Eli, who's the maker of the Wemmicks, up on a hill, and hardly anybody goes to see him. And so it's like obviously a picture of God, right?
Okay.
And then we are the wooden Wemmicks, obviously, his creations. And so, like, in this story, all the Wemmicks are caught up in these stupid things, stupid fads. And so the fad at this point was getting their nose painted green. And so, they paint their nose green and they stick their nose in the air and all prideful, pompous, And this Wemmick, Ponchinello, was like, why are they doing this? And Eli, explains this to him. Well, this is why, and they want to fit in and but they don't realize that I love them and it's all prideful and stuff. And so Ponchinello's like, oh, well, I'll never do that. He's like, I'll never do that. But through the story, you see how he slowly starts letting it come. He slowly starts letting it affect him because he's not up talking to Eli. He's not, talking with him. And so he ends up being with some of his friends, and his friends are kind of coaxing him not to, but like, he's like, so slowly through the book, you see that he's not talking to Eli so much, is now he's really focusing on this green nose, and he starts getting infatuated, and he ends up getting his nose painted and bringing his friends to get their nose painted green, right? So then, they're all like living it up because now they got the green nose and now they fit into the green nose club, but soon after that, it changes to a blue nose. And then after that, it's an orange nose. And then after that, it's a purple nose. And so they're like, we can't keep up with this. And they keep changing it on us. And soon he gets so exhausted with this constant state of like, I got to keep up with the Joneses. And he forgets that and so one of his closest friends, the girl, is almost in the picture of the book, like the spiritual person who's been steadily and constant, who hasn't given into, all the stuff that Ponchinello falls into, which a lot of us feel like Ponchinello, So and so in the story, she reminds him of Eli. She reminds him of his words. And he's like, oh man, like, what am I doing here? And so he goes back to Eli eventually at the end of the book. And, Eli is obviously loving and kind and comforts him and brings him in, which God always is. But I think the thing people's like, well, God is so loving and he cares for us so much. And, his love is endless. And even though that is true, you are throwing away his words of wisdom.
Right.
And so, yes, when you turn back to God, will he open, receive you with open arms? Yes. But you got to realize that you're going to have a line of baggage that you now have to sift through.
You got to sand off all that paint off your nose.
Yeah, and so exactly. So in the book, he's like, of course, he's like, I love you. He's like, can I get my real nose back? He's like, yes, but it's going to take some time and it's going to be painful. And he's like, okay. So he's, in the book, he's sanding off And so it's a
the
picture
pain.
of,
Yeah.
yes, the Lord will bring you back with open arms. Yes, he loves you. And we should, as Christians, be that same way. We'll bring, of course, you truly repenting, you're walking towards, we will come, greet you with open arms. But there is going to be some sorrow with that
Yeah.
sin. There is going to be some pain with that. And you're going to have to work through that. And that'll affect you the rest of your life. So that's what you have to realize, is that God is telling you these things. Yes, he's ever loving and kind, but he's telling you these things for a reason. Just as a parent telling their kid, hey, don't do that. They're not trying to strip you of your fun. They're trying to, warn you of the consequences of that.
Yeah. No, that's good. I should read that one. I haven't seen,
It's
I
good.
saw the stars and spots, but I didn't,
That's a really
I don't
good
know
one
the
too.
green nose one. But
Yeah, and I think there's a bunch of different stories that he wrote with that, but it's a great, if you're trying to instill good, thoughts into your kid's life, those are some great books to do it, because they're entertaining. But it's more like at 4 or 5, you can learn, because they're decently long,
yeah.
You start to lose interest.
Yeah.
First paragraph, like, they're gone, bro. So a little young.
They're off looking for marshmallows.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh, no, that's great.
Munchers.
I'm getting wiped though. We'll probably call it to an end, but
Yeah, it's definitely getting.
is it one freckle past the hair there?
One hair past the freckle, actually.
No, I really enjoy my talks with you. It's
Same.
really great.
Started going downhill when I went out of coffee.
I know. I ran out of coffee too and it went down. Oh, I got some left.
Oh, don't do it.
Cold but good.
Oof.
I know.
I thought it was going to be lukewarm. I
No.
will spew thee out.
Hey, it's like iced coffee now.
I cannot. I can't
Okay,
do that.
I do it better now, but Pastor Bickish would, it would be
I'll
like,
be sitting out there
remember-
for half a day. He's like,
yeah.
I'm like,
especially in the winter, it's like half frozen. He's like, oh.
I
Kill me.
can't go. If I make a coffee hot, I can't drink it it's cold and I'll drink it. I can't do it. I'm like, it's either hot starting or I start it cold.
So you don't like
in
Laodicea
between-
and coffee?
Nuh-uh. We'll spew it out.
Oh heavens. Anyway, okay.
it's
Well,
gross.
we'll wrap it up for all our other viewers. But
Okay.
Daniel, it's really good to have you on the podcast. I'm sure I'll be back from Texas eventually, and we'll do it again, or you'll come down and visit me. So
I'm hoping I can come down, actually.
yeah,
I
that'd
really
be
want
good
to
to have
come
you.
down in October for that missions conference.
We shall
Sorry
see.
about it. Yeah.
Well, for everyone that's listening, if you made it this far, you must have liked it.
Surprisingly.
Subscribe to the podcast.
Subscribe to
Give
the
us some
podcast.
love.
Give them some love.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Keep focused on Christ.
That was cringe.